I bet you don't know what time it is. It is July reading wrap up time. Hello everybody and welcome back to another YouTube video. I hope you are doing amazing, and today you are seeing me from a whole new perspective. We have fairy lights going, the TV is vibing, I have a tripod, it's amazing. You can actually see my bookshelves now, so we're happy about that. I did just get out of the shower though, and then realize that tomorrow is the last day of July and that I have not filmed a reading wrap-up video. So this is July's reading wrap-up video, or just July reading wrap-up. Okay, so let's get on straight on into this video. So starting off, we picked out, if we go and watch our July TBR video, we picked out 8 books, if I'm not mistaken. I am mistaken. We picked out 9 books. What was I thinking? What was I thinking picking out 9 books? I've never read 9 books in a month before. Anyways, so to start off, I read the Maple Falls romance series. I did also make a video about this whole series that you can also go and check out on my channel if you are interested. It is very small town. It is a complete series, so you can get all of the books. Small town, clean, no swearing, no smut. They say it's Christian, but the only Christian element of these books, I would say, is that some of them go to church. And I would say that's pretty much like the only Christian things. Like, you don't see them saying grace, you don't see them praying, you don't... Yeah, I don't know what else I was expecting. But anyway, it's not like Karen Kingsbury, okay? Put it that way. Okay, so starting off, we have Hooked on You by Kathleen Fuller. This is the first book in the Maple Falls romance series. And this follows Riley and Hayden. And Riley pretty much ran away from the small town as soon as she finished like studying art, and she ran to New York with her big great ambition to go and be a New York up and coming artist. However, that like flunk, she can barely afford her rent now, let alone selling art. So that's her life. And then Hayden was a baseball player, a professional baseball player, and then he pitched wrong, and I think he hurt something in his shoulder, and his career like pretty much ended. So like as soon as his career took off, it came to an end. So both of them thought they were going here and actually landed up down here. So that's that. And now it's 9 years later or 10 years later, and Mimi, which is her grandmother, who still stays in the small town, is like, I need you to come back to town because I just broke my leg and I need you to run my small shop for me until my leg is fixed. So she asks Riley to please come back to town, and when she gets back to the small town, lo and behold, who's also back in the small town helping his family run their business? Hayden. So that is pretty much their book. I enjoyed this book, but it's nothing compared to the other books, I would say. The other books are a lot better, I would say. However, this was still like a 4.5 star for me. The storyline just got better, and the couples got better, and the little town environment got better as the series went on. Book number 2 is Much Ado About a Latte, and this was by far my favorite book in the entire series. This book pretty much follows Anita and Tana is Hayden from the first book's best friend, and Atina. So all of these books pretty much follow like a girl small group of friends, and Tina is part of this small girl group of friends, obviously. And her and Tanner both work at the Sunshine Diner, which is like the small town's local diner, and she's a waitress and he's like head chef, and he does like a catering business on the side and everything. And she's like, oh, I want to be more than a waitress. So next door there's an empty shop, and she buys it to make it into a cafe, and he lands up buying the diner, and they don't tell each other, and they don't realize that they're falling in love with their rival, because he's worried who's buying the next door shop and why is it becoming a cafe, because that's going to put the diner out of business. Meantime, it's the person he's falling for. So this was definitely my favorite book out of the whole series. 5-star. The third book is Soul on Love. This was also a very cute book. This is about Harper, and she's like a sales agent, and she sells properties and houses and all of this good stuff. And she's very rich. She comes from a very wealthy family. She drives a Mercedes. She wears the high-end clothing. She's always in heels. She's always prim and proper. And his name is Rusty, and he owns the town's like car dealership, and he's a mechanic. And I just love it because they're literally complete opposites, but yet he is just like words of affirmation through and through, because literally he made her feel so safe and comfortable with being in like sweatpants, messy bun, and all of that, when she would not be caught dead like that. But he loved her more when she didn't try so hard, and I loved that. So I also really enjoyed their book. This one was also a 5-star for me. Then the last book is called Two to Tango. This book, I did not like the male main character in this book. I loved her. Her name is Olivia, and she studies for fun. So her parents were very strict, and she pretty much studies whatever interests her in her free time, and she runs the town's library. And he is Kingston, and he is the guy from the second book, the girl Anita's older brother. And I just don't like him because he hurts her not once, not twice, maybe 3 times, if not 4 times. And I just didn't like that, because I feel like he kept making excuses for his actions instead of doing something different that those actions didn't play a role. You know, I don't know. So I would have to say, because of the whole series and everything else that happened to all of the other couples throughout the series, I would have to give this book like a 4-star, just because of everything else that happened in this book. But the male main character in this book was not it for me. Definitely not it. Okay, enough about the series. Then I read The Silent Patient. So I did try to read this about a year ago, 2 years ago, not too sure. I read like the first chapter and I was immediately bored. Tell me why, when I picked this book up again for the second time, I literally read this book in like 2.5 days. I did devour this book. However, I wouldn't really say that this was a thriller. It wasn't really like creepy and airy, and I wasn't like biting my nails anxious. It was more like a lot of suspense, and you kind of just want to see how it was going to play out and what the final answer and the result was going to be. I would say that's the only thing that made me carry on reading this book, but it was definitely interesting. I'll give it that. It's like a 4-star reading for me. It was a good book. It was entertaining. I wasn't ever bored in this book, so good book. Then I did try to read Beartown. However, I just could not get into this book. So if you have read this book and you enjoyed this book, please convince me in the comments to read this book, because I I really did try. I think I read the first 2 or 3 chapters, and the chapters are so long. Tell me why the chapters are like 20 pages long, if not more. That was killing me, and we in so many different perspectives. Like, it's in third person, but I literally feel like we're in like 7 different people's perspectives, and that was only in the first 3 chapters, and this book is quite chunky. So I don't want to give it away too soon. Like, I feel like a lot of people like this, and they do say that it is quite a heavy book. It's a good book to read and for eye-opening purposes and things like that. So I do want to give it another try. However, I really need some convincing with this book because I was really not feeling this book. So if you have read this, please convince me to pick this book up again. However, what I did pick up was The Crash. Now, listen. Tell me why so many people are like, this was her worst book ever. The Crash was Frida's worst book ever. I saw the twist coming. I saw this coming. And I was like, did we read the same book? Because I wouldn't say this is her best work. However, I've never had a bad Frida book. This, 4 stars. I do not see the problem in this book. I was so invested in this. I was like, what is going to happen to this woman? What is going to happen? I'll admit the first part where she says tuna about like 1,000 times. Okay, a little bit irritating. Could have done without that. However, when something happened and she got stuck and then she got taken, and then what they did, and then the ending, and I was like, oh no, why? And everything. No, like, this was an incredible read. I don't know why people are hating on this book so much. I don't know, like, I didn't find anything wrong with this book at all. I think it was like a classic Frida. So, I mean, literally, I don't find anything wrong with this book. So I would really convince you to try and read this book, because besides tuna being said like 1,000 times, it's a really good book, and I was totally invested. And I think I also finished this book in like 2 or 3 days. So yes, it's a yes for me. Then we need a moment of silence for this.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
So I knew before going into this book, I knew that it would be a sad book. I knew that. I knew that this was a military romance. Obviously, being in the military, someone's going to die. We get told the sad thing on the back of the book. I knew what I was in for. Everybody said they were crying. I was like, okay, somebody dies. Obviously. I read this book. I was bawling my eyes out on page 40. Page 40. Then I was happy. I was happy. And then I got really happy. And then I got really happy. And then I got so sad. And then I didn't understand. And then my heart broke. And then the epilogue came and my heart shattered. Because what the actual? 5 stars, if not 6 stars, but I will never pick up this book again in my entire life. But it was an amazing read. I'll definitely give it that. It was an amazing read. It is like a military book. Pretty much, her and her brother didn't grow up. Well, their dad died in war. Their mom died in a car accident. Their granny looked after them and obviously died from old age. Her brother decides to go off to join the military. So it's just her by herself. She marries at 19. She falls pregnant with twins. The dude flees. She has to raise twins all by herself. She runs a inn, and these few people really help her in this small town. And then her brother writes like the last letter, which is pretty much saying that if he dies, his best friend needs to go and look after his sister and help her raise those children. Obviously he dies, we get told that, and he goes to go and help, and she's dealing with so many issues of her own with the children and all of this other stuff. I can't tell you without spoiling it, but really, please read this, but please just have tissues. Have the tissues. And him, best book boyfriend ever. I don't think, like as sad as this book is, I don't think we get told about all the happy moments that happened in this book that he caused. Like the words of affirmation, the acts of service, the things that he does for the children. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, now I have not finished this book yet. I will be finishing this book tonight. I am over halfway, so I literally have a little bit left, and we are technically still in July until tomorrow night. So I will be finishing this book tonight. However, I needed to film a reading wrap up because I won't be able to do it tomorrow, because tomorrow I have to upload it. So we have the 5th book in the Redemption series, but the 6th book in the Baxter series out of 33 books. I know. And this one is quite interesting. I can't really tell you much about it unless you've read the rest of the Baxter series, but I pretty much love the Baxter series. If you don't know the Baxters, it's a Christian family friendly book series. I know they did make a TV show about it as well quite some time ago. Yeah, it's just pretty much about a family, a mom, a dad, they have kids, and now all of those kids are out of university, and we're pretty much seeing them get married, finding their partners, having kids, and all of that. And then eventually, as the series goes on, we see the grandchildren being adults and being in college and finding a partner and stuff like that. So it's quite a lengthy series. It's quite nice. I just don't really want to read the series back to back because I really enjoy the Baxters, so I kind of want to like savor every single moment I have with them, because I know when it comes to an end it's finished and there's no more books coming out. So I kind of just like read them in drips and drabs. But yes, so this is Reunion, which is the 5th and final book in the Redemption series, but the 6th book out of 33 books in the Baxter series. So still busy with this one, but I already know it's going to be a 5-star because it's a Karen Kingsbury book and it's the Baxters. So that was our July reading wrap up. I'm very impressed with the amount of books that I read this month. Not gonna lie, there was some time where I was like, oh my word, am I ever going to get through these books? And I did. Especially I think the thrillers helped a lot, because a thriller I literally have to read like this because otherwise I get too bored. But yes, so this was our July reading wrap up, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please convince me to read Beartown if you think it's worth it. And yes, I will see you in the next video.